Hello world and welcome to Code or Not to Code. I'm Mila Eva and as always I'm super happy to be here today and I'm here with Stefan. How are you doing?
It's the time of the year where we increment the major version of our target, of our TFMs and of our Lang versions, and I'm super excited.
Yes, absolutely. It's exciting. It's an exciting time. Yeah, welcome to the show. If you're new, Stefan and I do meet every other week and do some coding together, learn together, and discover .NET and C#. So do give us a follow on any of your preferred social media so you don't miss any upcoming content. And also, if you want to reach out with any questions or comments, we always love to hear from you. Yeah, I guess without any further ado, let's get started. I think you wanted to do some trivia.
Yeah, some kind of baked-in trivia. So yeah, this time of the year, now pretty exactly a week ago, we now got the GA version of .NET 10. Well, it was continuously almost every month we get a new preview. Then there is 2 release candidates, and then it goes GA. And there we have it, the 10.0.100 SDK. And not only does it allow us to enable now the 10.0 target framework, actually, we need to be careful. I run into a little bit of an issue already. So if we bring up our IDE, if I remember the shortcut, it needs the target framework needs to be net 10.0, not net 10. Because net 10, I think that's .NET Framework 1.0. So stuff will not work. It must be a 10.0.0. And then we also have language version 14, which is now part of the new version of the compiler, the Microsoft Code Analysis .C#, which is the Roslyn compiler, now in version 5. Well, they usually takes a little bit longer after the release for the non-pre-release version of the next compiler comes along. Now this says 5.0. Well, that sounds more exciting than it actually is, because the major version of the compiler is just tied to the Visual Studio release. So we got a new Visual Studio version, which is 18.0, and the Visual Studio version minus 13 will then always be the current compiler version. So we need at least Visual Studio 18.0 to compile, that hosts a Roslyn 5 compiler, which enables all of the language features that we're about to see. And like was in the SDK, we need at least a 10.0.10 SDK to host C# 14.
Amazing. And speaking of C# 14, there are a bunch of really cool new features. And yeah, here to help us look a little bit deeper into what they are, we have an amazing guest here for you. Please welcome Stuart Lang. Woo!
Hey everyone.
Hi, Stuart.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thanks. Yeah. I didn't know that thing about the net 10 without doing the .0. I've not yet run into that, but yeah, that looks painful. Yeah. Hi everyone. So I'm Stu. I'm a Microsoft MVP, and I love all things C#, F#, and .NET. So yeah, really excited to walk through some of the C# 14 features. Should we go straight into it?
Let's go straight into it. Yes, it's now for the third time. We're super excited to see all the new sugar. I need to get my insulin shot ready.
Okay, yeah. So let me share my screen, and then we can sort of stop at each feature and have a little play around if we want. And then yeah, I'm just going to look through the C# features, and then not go specifically into the .NET features, but we can have a look at those as well if we want. But yeah.
Sure.
Okay, let me share my slides.
And I need to remove myself.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, looks good. Okay, yeah. So C# 14. As Stefan already mentioned, we get a new version of .NET every year, and yeah, it was like a week ago, right at pretty much this exact time. Yeah, we've got .NET 10, and the versions are a bit crazy, like you were saying with all those package versions. It gets very messy, but yeah, we have C# 14 comes with .NET 10, so you add 4 for that. It's weird because you got .NET Aspire where you add 3. It's Aspire 13, and then yeah, everything's a bit a bit crazy with versioning. I like to share this every time just to contextualize this for people in terms of like where we are, just to remind people, yes, we get a new version of .NET every year, and every other release is an LTS release, which has the 3-year support lifecycle. This year, the policies changed slightly and has been improved. So the change this year is that for STS releases, there's now, rather than it being 18 months support, it's now 2 years. And what that means is that we get the same end date for .NET 8 and .NET 9, which means whatever version you're currently on, one of these supported versions, you've got a whole year to upgrade to .NET 10, whatever version. So that helps us. At my work, we now if you create a new application, you just create the current version because it doesn't have any impact on your window to migrate. So yeah, just to remind people, you should upgrade to 10, and you've got a whole year to do it. But there's some nice shiny new features, so let's have a look at them, and hopefully we can encourage you to do it sooner.
Yeah, exactly.
So just going to go through features in no particular order. So a new feature we got is null conditional assignment. And this is a little quality of life feature. And it adds a bit of symmetry to the language. So previously in C#, and I forget which version we had this in, but we have the null forgiving operator. And some people call this the Elvis operator because you've got like the question mark dot. And some people see it as like the dots are like the eyes, and then the curl is like the quiff.
I see it.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think it's more commonly known as the null forgiving operator. So what this does, if you don't know, is if you have something that's a reference type and you want to access a member on it, like a property, you might be dereferencing a null if that thing is, unless you have like the nullability enabled. Stefan has a whole talk on this, right? What is it? What's the talk title? Everything about nothing. Oh, no?
Null and void. Everything about nothing. Indeed,
everything about nothing. That's the tagline. There's a great tagline. Yeah. Yeah. So if you've heard that talk, you'll know all about this. But yeah, you have the question mark dot operator, which is like a safe way of accessing a getter because you avoid the possible null reference exception that you might have if customer here is null, and then you propagate that. So you end up with a nullable thing on the other side once you evaluate this. And if it is null, it short circuits and gives you a null, which is nice. But what about the setter on a property? We don't have anything for that. And that's what we get in C#14. So what you might have had previously is something like this, where if you had a customer, you might check to see if it's null. And if it's not null, then you can safely use the order setter here to set the order property. And in C#14, we now have the same syntax. So it's the same operator. And this is called the null conditional assignment pattern. And yeah, it's great. What I like about it is it has that symmetry. So you don't need to learn something new. You may have already assumed that this was a thing. And so you may not even know that you know it. So yeah, just you can use this pattern on the setters now. So a nice little feature.
So what actually happens if you want to like assign the property, like if it's not null now? You know what I mean?
Well,
like...
so the way this works is it handles the case where customer is null. So if customer's null, there's nothing you could really do with that reference. Like you have, you know, so in that case, nothing happens effectively, but you don't have to check customer for null to set it. You can kind of safely set it. So it is the same logically as this. It is this basically, but it's just a more expressive way of writing it.
Okay. But so like, okay, if customer's not null.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I maybe with more code, because this is like a little bit contrived, but like with more code, it may make more sense because I don't know how often I'm setting properties on things that aren't always null, for example. But sometimes you do run into these cases, and then it's nice that you have like an expressive way of handling it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, next one, which is a really nice one, is the field keyword. And this is a weird one because it's one that's been talked about for years now. And I want to say it's been 6 years, maybe. I definitely have heard about it talks about since C# 8.
Wow.
Yeah, so like Mads has been talking about it. And so what's happened is they wanted to introduce a new keyword, and I'll talk about the functionality of it in a moment, but they've wanted to introduce a new keyword, but what they don't want to do is have a breaking change. And they had this problem with things like async and await, where you add new keywords. And what they tend to do is, to maintain backward compatibility, they tend to have to do things like, if you already have a class or a symbol that's named async or await, or in this case field, then that takes precedent over the actual keyword. And that's a bit annoying because you have to add extra complexity to the compiler. There's extra complexity to the language spec. And another approach to this is to just make it a breaking change. It's just to say, hey, if you've got a field called field, we're going to make that a breaking change. And then you might want to opt into that, or you might have a phased approach where if you switch on a certain feature in one version of the SDK, you could eliminate these, and the next version you could safely upgrade. That sort of thing. That kind of exists in, I think Java has concepts like that. So Microsoft wanted to use this to kind of figure out if there's a good pattern for this. And they did user research with developers and tried a whole bit different, a bunch of things. And in the end, they decided that actually just what they do now is the best way. In terms of there isn't, every option they had was just a trade-off. And so like they could add a whole bunch of mechanics to make this make sense. Or they could just have it be a sort of contextual keyword and just have it prefer the existing code if you already have a field called field. So that's why it's taken so long. So we had this as a preview feature in version 13, and it's now out of preview for version 14. But yeah, this feature solves the problem of you might start with just like a very simple property, like an auto property, where you have a get and a set, and the compiler implicitly creates a backing field for this behind the scenes. And the backing field is something that you can't touch. It has a special name. It has a what you say an unspeakable name. It's a name that only the compiler can sort of type. But if you try and type the name of that in C#, the C# compiler will tell you that's not a valid field name, even though it is valid, but not at the language level. You can't speak it, basically, is the idea. So you have this hidden field that the compiler manages. But as soon as you want to do something with that field, like as soon as you want to add some behavior to that property, you want to like maybe do some validation on the setter, for example. Maybe you have a validation method that you want to enforce, or in this case, you want to just check something for null before allowing to set it. You have to go through the ceremony of creating a field and naming it, and no one likes naming a thing. And so you have to like you have this big step up in terms of complexity. You had a very simple one-liner, now you have to go up, and that wouldn't be too bad a problem. But also, this is actually it's not just about conciseness, because your intention here might be that you want to do some validation on the setter, and you want to kind of have an invariant that you know and trust this field has been set through that like validation, let's say. But in this case, someone could come along, like you could come along a year later, forget you had this, and you could just accidentally set the message backing field in another method, right? And so you don't get that guarantee. So it would be nice if we had a way of kind of keeping the backing field, but having a way to refer to it in the property getters and setters. And that's what the field keyword does. So with this change, you can now use this contextual keyword to refer to the reference of the backing field and then set it. And equally on the getter, you can get it. So you still have the managed backing field, but now you have a nice, easy way of just growing this up a little bit. It's also useful for like iNotify property change. If you want to just emit an event on the setter, it's very handy just to add something here for that.
Amazing. So you kind of learned the language, like what you said, learned the name of learned to speak the language that the backing field is.
Yes, yeah, you
called?
still get that, that unspeakable. You can speak the unspeakable.
Yeah,
you have an easy way.
Good title for a talk. Amazing. So, but do you then need? What do you need? Do you ever need the declared backing field then?
Yeah, I guess if you've got something more involved, where you
Okay.
have different methods that would access the private backing fields. You might have patterns there where it makes sense. But for the most case, like there's so many cases where you just want an auto property, but then
Yeah.
sometimes you just want a little bit more. And then now you've got the field keyword, but then perhaps it gets more involved and you've got something that's lazily initialized, but you've got some other method that also gets involved. You've got now a sort of sliding scale of I can make it slightly, as complex as I need it, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like this in that like you've got something in between
Yeah.
having your, having to define it yourself. And yeah, that's that one. This one's probably my favorite feature, which this is a little bit cryptic, but go with me here. The C# feature is called ignored directives. So we already have directives in C#, and they kind of break out of C# in that they don't participate in the C# syntax. Generally speaking, they operate at like the document level. So you say like a directive is hash and then something. So you say like, you might be familiar with this in C# where you might conditionally compile a block of code, or you might enable nullability. So in this case, you're sort of talking directly to the compiler and saying, for the rest of this document, I want to switch on the nullability feature. Also, you may see directives in terms of regions, which people like and people hate. And then also pragmas. So like you can enable and disable compiler warnings, again, at like a line level and block level within a document. So you have these directives, but if you wanted a custom directive, like if I put hash stews directive, the compiler would error and say, I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is. And so what they've added in C#14 is 2 new directives that are ignore directives, basically. So if you put hash exclamation mark or hash colon, the rest of that line is just ignored. It's just like nothing to see here. And effectively, it sees nothing. And in fact, the lines are themselves, like, to the compiler, just empty lines. And this sounds useless. And on its own, it is useless, right? But what it means is we can add our own custom directives in this form, and use it in our own tooling. So if we had some tools where we want to like add our own little custom directive, we can now use this to have our own little DSL, maybe, hash colon stews directive. That could actually be a thing I could build now. And this is what the .NET team have done. So in the .NET SDK version 10, they now have a new feature called file-based apps. And it uses this. So the first way which it kind of uses this, or a way it uses this, is if you're on Linux or Mac, you might want to have a shebang at the top of the file. So this feature lets you take a C# file and just run it. So you can say .NET. You have 2 ways of doing it. You say .NET my file or .NET run my file, and either way, it's going to compile that C# file and just run it. And so if you're on Linux or Mac, you might use this shebang thing to make the file executable. So you may say, chmod plus x the file, and then literally just run the file. And this could be like a build script. It could be just whatever, your own little script for whatever purpose you have. And so you can just run it, which is kind of really nice. The other thing you would want to do if you have the single file based approach is you want to be able to do things like reference packages and do whatever. And so the way they've solved that is, again, using this ignore directive. So they've added their own sort of, I guess, call them subdirectives or whatever you want, but like you can say hash colon SDK, and that's a way of customizing the SDK. You can also say hash colon package, and this gets translated into a package reference. You could also say hash colon property and set an MS build property. So what this tooling does is behind the scenes, it synthesizes a project file in memory. And so these directives can kind of influence that. And then it will do the build. And the SDK will create a temporary directory out of sight, and it will manage the intermediate output path, which is the OBJ folder. So what's really nice about that as well is like when you first build it, it may take like a second to build, but on subsequent runs, it will use like the incremental build. So you get all the benefits of the SDK, and you get a really nice development experience, but you just have a single C# file, which is super handy. It's handy for like GitHub Actions. You can just have like a block of C# workflow. This is lots of situations where you just want to write a little bit of C# and just run it. If you want to see kind of like what it does, or you want to sort of debug what it's doing, you can also convert that file into a project, and you can say .NET project convert, and then pass it the file, and it will create a folder and output the C# file with the directives removed, and then the project file that goes with it. So in this case, for that example I just showed, you see here it sets the SDK property, and it sets the package reference, and that has some defaults as well. Just like with the regular SDK, if you're building like a class library or an executable or a web API, they all have different defaults in terms of the MS Build stuff. And so this has a set of defaults as well that you get. It also has a really nice set of defaults around publishing. If you do, so you can just say .NET and then the C# file, and it will run it. But if you say .NET publish and then the C# file, it defaults to a native AOT tool. So it's kind of nice. You can just kind of like, you can just run it, or you can publish it and you just get a binary. So yeah, it's just a very nice little addition that I'm going to make lots of use of. And they've also used it, as the example here alludes to, for Aspire. So you can use this for an Aspire app host and just have this at the top of the file, and then you can just start coding. And yeah, it's a really nice pattern.
Cool.
So I'm not sure if I got it right. The default of publishing a single file, a file-based app is native AOT?
I believe so. I believe so. This is going on information from Damon Edwards from a few weeks back. I haven't tried it with the current release, so I can. I'll tell you what. I'll finish some more slides and I'll try it and see if that is indeed the case. But there's something about that.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Why is there, another question: why is there two ignore directives?
Yeah.
Colon and the exclamation point. Why
so
not
really,
just one if it's ignored?
Yeah. So really, this is the ignore directive, if you will. But while they were at it, they were like, oh, it would be really nice if you could add the shebang at the top of the file for Linux and for Mac. So you can just, so if you're not familiar, this is called a shebang. I think I don't know the proper terminology, but like this is a shebang line, and you say here a process. So you could point this directly to .NET, but a common convention is to point it to this path here, which and then pass it the argument .NET. And what it will do is it will look up .NET on your path from your environment. So this is kind of like the shebang is like a directive for your shell. It's just a convention in Linux.
So if I installed my .NET in a different location, then I could point it to that customer location.
Yeah. So I don't know if I have an editor here, but like sometimes you'll see this. Oh, can I find a good example? Hold on, see if I can go on. Damon Edwards, bear with me. Let me share.
Oh, we are. Well, this is not native AOT. We are not just in time compiling.
Okay, I'm going to share this tab. This is Damon Edwards. I don't even know this is actually just a random, I presume a random fork of Damien's stuff. But a lot of this stuff was developed under Damien's repository here. Right, so you could do this. You could say hashbang and a path to .NET and then run. Right, but let's say you're on a different system and that isn't where .NET is. So you often want to use the .NET that's on your path. that's how the SDKs kind of set themselves up. So wherever it happens to be on Mac or on Linux, like I install it via Homebrew, so my .NET isn't at that path. So what you generally do in script files is you say env, and that will be there because that's on like almost all Linux systems. And then you say .NET, and that's almost the same as if you type .NET into your shell, because it's going to search it on path. So this is a way of finding .NET. And then again, this is a shell thing. The shell will then run this top line minus the hash bang. It will then pass the path of the file name, the current file, as an argument, and then any other argument as the rest of the arguments. So this is how it works. This is also why you saw in Damien's example, it said run, .NET run. That actually kind of interferes with the shebang thing, because if you have two arguments, I can't quite explain it. All I can say is it doesn't quite work with the whole shebang. So that's one of the motivating factors why they made it work with just .NET. So you say .NET, your C# file, and that means that you can now run. You can have a script like this where you say you just .run it, and then you can pass arguments, and the arguments will just work. So this is like a bit of, let's call it cuteness, to make it work nice on Linux, so that you can do this.
I see.
If that makes sense. So they special case this just to make it nice.
And for everything else, I use the
so for the actual
I could technically, if I kind of am a runtime or not sure, but I could technically build my own ignored.
You could have,
if I'm some framework.
And there are like real scenarios where this could be a thing, like something I've been playing with on the side that I haven't got anything yet to share, but I'm trying to build like a I want better documentation for C# code. Like I want to go to a doc site and see snippets of code, and then mouse over it and see the types. And this is a thing that you see in other ecosystems. Like when you ever go to like some docs for TypeScript, they have this, like you can hover over the code and see all the type information. And it's like, I want that sort of thing for C#. And sometimes that involves like fetching snippets of code from source code. So sometimes it's nice to be able to have like some identifiers in the document to say, snip the code here for my samples thing. A very contrived example, but there's I have a specific use case where I'm like, I want to be able to add some sort of marker to my code to be able to like snip it. You could do that with comments, but then I don't know, it feels weird. Whereas this feels like it's a bit more proper. But you may have other, like I think, I know that Cake uses this as well. So the latest version of Cake uses file-based applications. Now I don't know if they add to the directives or if they don't need to, and it's all just whatever. But they could do, right? They could do whatever and layer the stuff on. So yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Right. Yeah. So any more questions on that one?
Eva, do you have something?
No, I don't.
By the way, yes, yeah, great.
Were you going to say the same thing?
Eva, you go.
if you're watching and you have any questions for us, Stuart, please do not hesitate to ask in the chat.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it makes sense in my head, but then you never know, right? Okay. So this is another big feature of C# 14, and this is extensions. So we already have extensions in C# previously, and that's extension methods. So if you do a lot of C#, this might be familiar to you, where you have a static class, and then you have this static method, and it has the first parameter has the this keyword in, and that's the sign to you that it's an extension method. And it's sort of I've done C# for so long that I don't even think about it. But I'm betting for people who are new to C#, this is a little bit confusing because it's like, how do I know this is an extension? Yes, I've got like the type name up here to kind of hint that it's an extension method, but you kind of have to just learn that it being static and the this keyword combined makes it an extension method. What's also weird about it is the signature doesn't look like how it's used. Like it's not used like any other extension method. It looked like the signature you would expect for this would be, because it presents itself as just a method on the type, right, on string in this case. So you would expect it to not have any arguments, because the call site doesn't have any arguments. So why is there one here? But that's not the big problem. The biggest problem is, how do you extend this for other members, right? This is an extension method, but what if you wanted an extension property or an extension whatever, or even an extension static method? If you wanted to add a static method to string, this is already static. So what would you have static? It doesn't sort of scale up to other scenarios. So the language design team tried to look at what they could do with the existing syntax to make it work and make it sort of scale to other, what they call extension everything. Like, I want extension property, I want extension constructor, like whatever. And they explored a whole bunch of options, and basically none of them made any sense really. They were all not just ugly, but like confusing, and didn't really work. So what they decided to do was redo the syntax here. So there is going to be some duplicate syntax, and so just know that I know people hate language design where you have two ways of doing the same thing, but this does make sense. So hopefully I can say to you that the new syntax is simpler, and obviously it'll be more consistent with the other use cases of it, so like extension properties and everything else. But it's also just more intuitive when you look at it, and I think particularly for newcomers it will make a lot more sense. So the changes that have been made are, extensions now go in an extension block. So there's sort of a new construct in C# which is an extension block, and then in that block you can define extension members, and those can be methods, those can be properties, those can be whatever. And so that, for this method here, if you keep your eyes on the code, looks like this. So you get the extension block at the top here, and you take the type, or you take the thing you're extending, and you can give it a name. So you sort of take it like a parameter into this block. And then what's nice now is that the static keyword's gone here, and the argument is gone, the parameter's gone, and the signature looks just like we would expect it to if it was on the type itself. So it kind of looks right. If I was a newcomer to C# and I navigated to the method and I saw this, I'd be like, oh, this makes sense. And oh, it's an extension. It's obvious, and it's consistent with how it's being called, right? But otherwise, it's the same functionality. So what gets compiled is the same thing in this case. But what's nice now is that we can actually, this syntax is more extendable. We can add other scenarios. So for example, I'm not very creative with my examples here, I'm sorry, but you could have an extension property. So this is the one we've wanted for ages now. We can finally do it. So you can now add your own properties to things, just like extension methods. It works the same. And again, it's now consistent with the extension methods. Rider has a conversion functionality, by the way. And I got it in my head that it didn't have a convert for solution. So I went through one of my solutions and did it to like 30 or 40 different files. And then someone afterwards told me, oh, no, it does. You just go to this menu here and there's a convert for the whole solution. So you can just use Rider to do all this for you if you have Rider. Or I'm sure Visual Studio has the same functionality. But yeah, interestingly as well, you can add static methods. So by adding a static method here, you now, sorry for the, I can't come up with good examples, but you can create like your own factory methods, for example. So this will appear on string. So if you do string dot along with all of the other static methods that exist on string, we can now merge this one in with it. which is super nice. An example they give at the conferences, the .NET folk, is like if you wanted to add try-parse, for example, if you want to add that pattern to a type you don't own, you can now do it. So there's lots of examples where in the past I've needed to just add my own static factory method or what have you, and now there's an easy way of doing it. You can just add static methods. But
yeah,
Could
that's really cool.
Could you maybe briefly go back to the animation to see maybe a bit of back and forth to
Yeah.
see kind of
I should do this a few times. Yeah. So keep your eyes to the static keyword disappears, and the argument disappears, or the parameter disappears, and then the extension block reappears.
Yeah,
it's very satisfying.
I like what you said that this is a lot easier to read, especially for newcomers, because it took me ages to properly read and write an extension method on anything, and I think we've got a few failed attempts on this stream. Like if you go back a couple of episodes, so yeah, this I think you're right. This makes life a lot easier for newcomers and people like me. But we've talked a lot about on this stream about multi-targeting libraries. So if you're doing that, how is sort of the compatibility? Will that compile them, or how? Yeah, what do I do?
Yeah. So that's a great question. And so the way that these things work, so the stance that the language can take is that C# language features are not backward compatible, and I think the phrase they use is they're not supported on older languages, and all that means is that they won't go out their way to make it work. So some of these language features, if you deliberately mismatch the language version with the .NET version that you're targeting, and so you can always use a higher, you can upgrade the SDK to .NET 10, for example, and still build a .NET 9 thing. But you can use the C# 14 features from that new SDK and still build for .NET 9. But there's no guarantees that things just won't work. For example, the compiler may say, for some functionality, the compiler might expect a certain type to exist. It might emit an attribute and expects that attribute to be present for that target framework, and it may not be. And so there's polyfill libraries out there that kind of solve this problem. One is Polysharp, Polyshim, Polyfill. I think they all start with poly, but there's 3 big libraries in the polyfill space for .NET, and they backward, I guess, fill in the blanks for those things. Some language features don't require any types at all. They're purely syntactic sugar. So the first one I showed with the the filled keyword is a good example. Prior to that was the null coalescing assignment one. I've already forgotten the name. Those are just purely syntactic sugar, so you don't need anything for that. For this one specifically, we can look at the. I don't know if we want to do it right now. Maybe we do it now. Actually, we can look at the lowered code because there are types it uses. What I can say is that the code that gets compiled for this, so specifically the extension method, it still compiles the same code as before, at the least. There's a bit of extra stuff in there we can have a look at, but it definitely compiles the exact same extension method as before. And so that will work with previous versions of .NET. But properties is an interesting one. So we can jump into an IDE. Stefan, do you want to spin up Rider?
There we go.
Excellent.
So we have a Hello World example being. Oops. I was playing around. Having .NET 10, C# 14. Well, I guess we don't need C# 14 explicitly because the default language version of .NET 10 is C# 14, but maybe let's be explicit so we can play around with it a little bit. And then we have 2 libraries, both of them being on Net Standards 2.0, but doing the unsupported thing of bumping the language version. Okay, now what would the scenario be? So if we could basically add in a Net Standard library, an extension member, and then see if we can consume it from the other library, would this make sense?
Yeah, I guess we could do it either way because they're both interesting. So if you do it from a .NET, if you're multi-targeting,
Shall we do multi-targeting?
Yeah. Let's. It doesn't matter which way we do it. To be honest, we're still whether we're multi-targeting or whether we're doing it on an older framework, we're going to get to the same thing. So yeah, I think maybe stick with the net standard library, and do it there because. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. There is a standard, good old extension method, and you mentioned there is a writer refactoring made convert this to extension block.
That's
cool.
it. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, so this is what is this? So this is basically kind of a function which just returns a string that returns itself. Okay.
Now, if you click the IL viewer on the right, little three squares, I think it will build. We'll see actually.
And so click that. IL.
And switch the IL to lower level C#. You're going to see two things. You're going to see the old extension method.
Oi, okay.
Yeah, but you're also going to see this other stuff. This and these are unspeakable, right? They have the angle brackets, dollar signs, and I haven't like dug into the internals about how all this works, but this is like the metadata part of it, which is pretty new to me. But this is how some of it surfaces itself. So you have like this extra stuff now.
So there is like the old version that looks like for backwards compatibility, right?
Yeah, and it's not just backward compatibility, but it's still you still have the scenario where you can have two namespaces that define the same extension method, and like this has happened a lot, where people try and grab something like I'm trying to. There's one type in particular where people have done like two lists and different packages have bled that extension method out, and you have to disambiguate. So you still need a way of disambiguating. So they still need the basic static method that you can access.
Because I could do this, but also the extension syntax with such, and maybe let's discard it to see this actually returns something. Okay, so we can have the extension. Oh, so that we actually can do the
if you had
clashing
extension methods, you would you'd still need to use the namespace and the fully qualified thing. So you still get the static method for that purpose.
Have extension B, which also declares an extension with the same extension method name. Now, yes, the static invocation works, but the instance invocation,
and that you can't fix it without switching to the old syntax. So you need a sort of get out thing. And this is actually a complaint people have, because some people saying, why do I still have to have the static class? Because that's a bit weird. I don't want the static class. And the answer at the moment is you still need it, but maybe there's a way they can sort of make the static class implicit, or control it with an attribute or something. But at the moment, they don't have a good answer for it. So like, you know what, we're just going to keep the static class because it serves the purpose of disambiguation for the time being.
So that's for the static invocation.
Do you want to add a property now? We can see what you get. Because because
so
what,
we can
you can just take away the curly braces and it should take away the curly braces off the extension method, and that's just the extension property then.
Click the curly. To turn this into yes.
Me being super lazy.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yes, it's now colored differently, and
if you were to build that and look at the IL.
And we should now be able to say basically dot. Well, it's not an extension method, but it's. No, wait a second.
It's ambiguous. Oh, I don't know. I thought it would figure out that.
Maybe since we are in a net standard, does this not work from net standard?
Should we get rid of the other method just in case it's being...
just in case. Okay.
Just in case. Because we're probably touching on a really edge case.
Yes, indeed. Oh, okay. Wait a second. Actually, now I'm confused. Can I actually have... in a regular
Yeah.
scenario, a proper with the, oh no, but it's the same identifier. Okay, I can't have.
I didn't know that, but that does make sense.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, yeah.
Have the same identifier twice. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, but now we have an extension property. Okay, that's
Hmm.
cool. And if we would like to want to set to it, I guess we also
and this
need
is a getter only one, but you could try and think what kind of setter, because it's a so something to add here is that you can't have it. It's still static in terms of the implementation. With extension methods, the way you define extension method, you would say static. But the staticness was more of an implementation detail. Here, you don't have the static keyword anywhere, but it has the same rules as static in that you can't sort of you can't hold state, but you could have behavior like this, yeah.
Okay, well, because string is immutable, there's nothing that we can really set. If this was our custom type, we could then access maybe some. Okay, but in this case, there's nothing to set here too. Okay, but we now have a set as well, which is just throwing, but we now have this amazing syntax.
Yeah. Did you want to look at the lowered code for this?
Oh, yes. Yes.
So we should see that we get like a get underscore static method. So we get a static method with get underscore. And again, this exists for that disambiguation scenario. So if you had two properties that clashed, the only way to disambiguate would be to use the static syntax. And the methods, they look a bit ugly, the get underscore and set underscore, but these are already the method names that are used in C# for properties. You just never see them because you don't, unless you're doing. Well, sometimes you see them. But yeah.
I see. And okay, this is then the disambiguation. Cool. Let's remove that again. Oops.
Yeah. So in theory, it looks like we don't need anything to. That is defining and consuming it all from a net standard 2.
Yes, indeed. We just bumped the language version, and it seems to work.
Yeah, because I wasn't sure whether, because sometimes things like extension marker might live somewhere, but I think that's kind of omitted automatically. I'm just curious if you navigate to extension marker, for example.
I can't F12 this, but I'll go to yes, it's time for my page. Source.net. Yes, I'm always looking for excuses.
My favorite site is APIs of .NET, but it's broken in the last couple of weeks, and it's broken.
Oh no!
I know, but I'm hounding Microsoft to fix it.
Okay, there it is. Oh, there it is. But if it's in the BCL, I can imagine this has been added in .NET.
Yeah, so what's happening here is the compiler omitting this.
So if it's not available, the compiler omits it?
Yeah, well, how is this working? Yeah, or does the compiler miss it? This is the thing I don't know. So sometimes you have to use polyfills to omit the thing that's missing. Sometimes, but I don't know what's happening here.
Maybe not for this one, yeah.
I'll have to do a bit of research, but at worst, you need to add any missing types, and the polyfills will do that. But look, it may be that you just don't need to; it just works. But I mean, we just proved it works, right? So it must work.
Let's actually invoke it. So if let's actually run it.
Okay, yeah. No, that's a fair point.
Wait a second. So that's class B.
Yeah.
We need to go to our application and say class B. Yes, please. And let's invoke that. Wait a second. Oh yeah, it's called method. Where we now, I'm confusing totally myself. Where we now call into the setter, which actually then should throw here.
Yeah.
And it does. There's nothing to say. Cool.
What runtime are we using for this host app?
Yeah, that's actually.
Should we just drop it down to 8 or 9 or something, or just to?
Let's do .NET 8.
I don't know what's going to happen. It should work. We're placing bets.
It does.
I don't know where that's coming from. I presume the compiler admits it.
I think I have .NET Core. I have .NET Core 3.1 installed. I'm not entirely certain if I still got it.
Wow. Retro.
Still works.
Wow.
Okay, that's cool. But I assume, do we need the language version? I assume, right? If I lower this to 13.
Yeah, I presume it should. Yeah, it should.
Wait a second. No, I don't trust it anymore that it actually compiles.
No, I don't trust
Yeah.
Let's save it to something ridiculous.
it.
Oh.
And it
Well,
stops working. Okay, interesting.
oh no, because it's the language version of this is irrelevant, right? Because it's the host project calling into it.
Because it's the host.
Oh,
right, we have the method here. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So because this is what we would actually. Yes, I see.
Mm.
Yes,
yeah, and I think if you go to 13, it's going to say I don't know what that.
So this extension method, I guess I can't even import it.
Yeah, because it won't know to find it. Like the SDK. But it is working with the new language version, but targeting old things.
Now I'm wondering. Let's include
This is fun. I like it.
A as well.
I always learn on these. I always come in trying to teach, but I end up learning.
Does this now not work? Or am I just missing a using? So we still need the using, right? So it's this extension method, which actually a property. So we need using library A. Oh, okay. Maybe it was just. So that seems to work. Yes. And if we now lower the language version on our .NET Core app to 13,
it won't find it.
Yes.
Yeah, which is
okay.
Correct. Yeah, and it knows that you're trying to use extension methods, so it's figured out that it could do it, but it's choosing not to because that's a C#14 thing.
Also, because the SDK I'm having is still .NET 10.
Yeah,
so
so it still sees the pattern.
Knows.
Yeah, which is interesting. I didn't know that. I didn't know that it kind of is aware. I thought it would change the behavior to not even know what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
So I guess, I see it now too, what you mentioned about polyfilling libraries, getting all in on these extension methods and making all the newer BCL features available on everywhere.
Yes, yeah. And in fact, actually that was my next slide. If we
back
to the slides, you read my mind. So actually the maintainer of Polyshim, Alexei here, tweeted this because in the README of the library it says, despite best efforts, Polyshim is not able to polyfill all of the APIs because effectively the language doesn't allow you to do this. But now the language does, right? You can actually add static members and properties, etc. And I'm going to need to zoom in on this one. So let me open this in another window and share this tab and zoom it. And let's make that bigger. He's added all of these static methods, like random.shared, for example, is one that I like to use, but as soon as I'm multi-targeting, I can't use it. But now I can with this library. And the other polyfills are doing similar things. These libraries don't polyfill everything. There's just a lot to polyfill, but some of the big ones, it's nice to. A big one for me is argument null exception. Yeah, that's the big one, right? Yeah, that's huge. Yeah. So you can now, with this Polyshim library, drop it in. You can use that everywhere and multi-target, and it works. Amazing. So that's probably like the biggest benefit I'll get from this feature. I'll still rewrite my extension methods that I have already, but now I have the option that I can do extension properties, extension static methods, and now I get to take advantage of this stuff, which I have needed for ages. So
yeah. In particular with multi-targeting libraries, we kind of had our own extension throw helper thing.
Yeah.
So we can then on net, where was this for help us edit, net 6, 7 something, have these, but for net standard have the same syntax, but then that's amazing.
Yeah, so that's a really big use case for this. So obviously it. Let's see what else I got. And so those are the slides I prepared. There are other .NET features. I know you're aware of this, but let me share this tab. So there's a couple of places you can keep on top of all of the language design stuff. One is, I can type it here, C# lang. One is this repo here, C# lang. This is where all of the design meetings happen, all the proposals. If you want to like keep up to date week by week of all the various discussions that are happening, for example, you can see down here all the meetings, all the things they've got scheduled to talk about. You can come here, but if you don't want to see it week by week, you kind of just want a more top level view of what's coming. This is by far the best place to come. So this is in the Roslyn GitHub repo under docs and language feature status.md. So what you see here is at any point in time, let me scroll up, there's a working set of C# features, and you get to see the state of these, whether they're in progress, whether they're merged. And once they're merged in and sort of a line's been drawn for the release, they will be included. So, for example, we were able to see months ago what was going to come in C# 14. So these are the features. I've already talked about the field keyword. Let's talk about some of the other big ones that are worth talking about. One is first-class span support. I haven't really prepped on this one too much, so go easy on me. But this one is, so when we say first class, what does that mean? And that in language design, that really means trying to design something that feels like it was always meant to be part of the language, like from day one, and it's not just a bolt-on. So when spans were added in C# 7. Whatever, they were kind of a bolt-on, if you will. They were like kind of a new thing. And over the releases of C#, we've got more and more, I guess, integration that they feel more baked in. But there's still some places where it feels a bit awkward. And what they've done this version is they've added some more implicit conversions, so that you will hit more of the span overloads in more places, and it makes it feel like it's more of a first class, baked in thing. The details are in the specification, and there's a lot, so I won't go into it, but it's very niche, I think. I say it's niche. I've heard reports that people have upgraded and hit some overload resolution ambiguity as a result of this. So you may find that in upgrades on big code bases, but I've yet to hit that. But I guess in terms of interesting things, one interesting thing that's worth calling out with this stuff was an example here where, for the most part, this change is kind of non-breaking. You kind of always want to take the span overload of an API if it exists versus like an enumerable or whatever other overload might otherwise win. But what they found was there's actually somewhere where this is a little bit dangerous, which is on the if you have an array instance and you say .reverse, you would get the extension method enumerable.reverse, and this takes that array and returns you a new array or a new enumerable with the contents reversed. However, after these implicit conversions have been added, you would now get the preferred memory extensions.reverse method. And this is a void returning method. And this does an in-place reverse. And so this is a bit dangerous. If you suddenly had something that was returning a new array and leaving the original one untouched, and this one is void returning and flips everything in place, bad things would happen. However, this isn't likely to be something you're going to hit, because your code wouldn't compile if you were assigning this to a variable or assigning it to something. And you're going to be assigning it to something because it's a pure function that returns a new reversed array, right? Or reversed enumerable. So you're really not going to have the, like, if you did have this scenario that wouldn't result in a compilation error, you probably have a bug anyway. However, to just avoid this whole thing, in .NET 10, they've added this API overload specifically for array. So it's a new extension method for array that does reverse in the old way. So this is a way of just completely disambiguating it so that this doesn't break. This is the only thing they had to kind of get in there and make sure still works. But just to call out, like, this is specifically what I mean when I say they support the current .NET with the new language features. This is the sort of thing you can't fix with old languages. Old target frameworks. So like if you multi-target and support .NET 8 with the new language features, you don't, like, this fix doesn't fix you. Now, in this case, again, it really, I don't see anybody ever hitting this, but just to call it out, it's like an interesting one where it could be a bug.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it totally reminds me of this like episode that we did, that we also did in our talks, where, you know, I kind of play tricks on you, Stefan, and this would have been a very good trick I can play on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe niche everywhere else, but in this stream, it's exactly on point.
Yeah, so that one's first class spans. Other features that are cool. Ignore directives. We've got the user-defined compound assign operators, and that is what it sounds like. So you can define custom operators. I don't think I mentioned you can do custom operators in extensions as well. That's another thing you can add.
So I could technically, I mean, I'm not just the type doesn't have a plus, but I could I could have an extension plus operator, so I could say type plus type, and then it returns a, I don't know, 9.
Yeah, I don't know what you'd have it return. That would be very interesting. You could actually make that make sense. There's ways of making that make sense. But yeah, you could
of types. I don't know.
You could do that.
Ooh, let's build this afterwards.
Yeah, there's you can emit IL at runtime and then load a dynamic assembly with custom types that you've built at runtime is a thing. But I guess you've also got source generators, so you could make that do that. Yeah, I guess you could do crazy things. Yeah, so this one is the ability to define custom specifically. You can already obviously do plus operators, but you can now have compound assignment operators. So you can make this do something specific. I'm sure someone has use for that. But, this is another one. I keep opening these new tabs and I can't talk about them. Let's open it, this one. Right. Partial events and constructors. So you have partial types in C#, and they're useful for when you have large classes to be able to manage them across multiple files. Like I see this done by SDK authors, but partial classes are also useful for source generators. There's nice patterns, particularly, I think it was C#. Was it last year, C# 13? Or was it the year before where we got partial properties?
I think it was 13.
I think it's 13.
Correctly.
Yeah. So that's an example where it's just slightly more convenient to have a partial property rather than a partial method. So we've always been able to do partial method implementations, and it plays really well with source generators. So having a partial member implemented by source generator means that source generator is just more nice to use. And now you can do events and constructors. I haven't given any thought as to how, like a scenario where this would be useful, but I can imagine that the constructors particularly could lead to some nice patterns, but I don't know. I'm waiting for someone to build something cool with it. But yeah. Other features, again, barely worth talking about on this one. I am going to talk about it briefly, but it's just so small. Yeah, so this feature here, simple lambda parameters with modifiers. When you have a lambda, when you express a lambda function, you can omit the types where they can be inferred. And like except when you use a modifier, like for example, ref. So previously you'd have to say ref my type, the name of the parameter, and now you can just abbreviate that. You can just like you can with regular parameters.
Yeah.
Tiny feature, but all good.
I still need the ref.
Yeah.
How do you mean? Go on.
I can't just have.
Oh yeah, sorry.
I can't just have the name itself. I still need the ref, don't I?
Here,
I can't just
here you do. Yeah,
type.
yeah,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because the parameter could just be the name, like in the simplest lambda, where you're doing like you got some link, you got a select. You say x goes to blah. That's just the name, right? But if you wanted that to be ref something, you have to use the ref keyword. But before you'd have to say ref my type thing. And so if you were to have like a high performance link library, it may be frustrating to use because you'd always have to repeat the type name, and now you could just say ref x. So you could have like a more high performance link library if you were crazy like that. And that is not all of them, because there's also optional named arguments. Oh, expression trees get optional arguments. So when you have, let's come down here. This is a really, there's not much detail here, but effectively when you take an expression of something, which is useful for like,
did you click something?
oh,
we don't
gosh,
see.
I keep opening it in new tabs. Right. Sorry. Okay.
No worries.
Yeah. So expressions are useful for like link queries and all sorts of things where you want to kind of take a lambda expression, but treat it as an expression and be able to walk it and turn that into something. Like the best use case people refer to is like link, so entity framework, where you're querying a database. You can turn that into, that expression can be turned into like a SQL expression or something. Before you couldn't have optional parameters, you now can. And named arguments as well. So there were lots of constraints around expressions. And this is a really interesting space that I know it's been talked about for years and years and years, because expressions are hard to evolve, because if you have an expression visitor thing, like if you have an entity framework provider that visits expressions, extending it can break those things. So I'm interested to look at the detail here and find out more about how this impacts that, because historically expression trees are almost like frozen in time in terms of like the C# features, because you would break everything every time. There's no like versioning involved. So I don't know what they've done here, whether they're testing the waters on like more expression changes, but I know that this has been a problem in terms of evolving the language for a long time. So yeah.
I have this odd déjà vu. Haven't you been, the first time you've been around C# 12 showed that lambdas can have named and optional arguments?
Yes. Yeah.
So you're kind of completing the story of optionals in all of the.
So lambdas are a bit easier to evolve in that sense, but expressions are like the really hard one, because anything that works with existing expressions could be broken. I guess there's an argument to be made that anything can break anything, but like in particular, expressions are kind of structures that are walked and are kind of they're very brittle to that sort of change. But yes, you're right. This is something that we've got in lambda expressions in general, in lambdas, and now we can have expressions. Yeah, so it's kind of like the completeness of that. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And I think there's also the name of one, the unbounded generics. So this is just a small quality of life one, because before, if you wanted to take the name of list, just to take like, I don't suppose, I suppose it's really trivial in the case of list, but like in general, if you wanted to take the name of a generic type, you couldn't just say name of list bracket bracket. you had to supply type, like you had to sort of complete the generic the type parameters. You had to sort of provide them, and so you would end up like just putting in arbitrary types, like typically object, just because it's an arbitrary type. So you would say like name of list of objects, when really you just want the name of list. And so this change just lets you do that. You can kind of just leave it, and it will just return list, but you now don't have to put in the silly little unnecessary types because they don't change the name. So yeah.
Okay. And yeah, it already says there with like types like dictionary, where you have like maybe more than one what is it? Like dictionary of string, right?
Yeah, it's called arity. It's like the number of type arguments. Yeah.
That word.
Yeah, it's one of those. I don't use that word ever except when talking about generics, so it falls out of my head very quickly. So yeah, just another tiny one, but it's just like it's just like an annoying little paper cut. So they just sort of take out these paper cuts, and I appreciate them. But yeah, there's other things in here, but probably not as notable. Upcoming things for the next release. So I was hoping, I think I've been saying for years now, I kind of imagined after C# 12 we'd get immediately dictionary expressions in C# 13, but we didn't, and now we haven't got it in 14 either.
Yeah.
But it's looking promising. There's progress being made there. So yes. Do we have any questions on those? I can talk a bit more about upcoming features. We can pivot to something else.
Shall we jump into the code and
yes.
play a little bit around, and then at the end we round things off with upcoming features. We do have a statement from Eric that the MVVM community toolkit is using both partial properties and field keywords already.
Nice.
So that's really nice. Nougat is currently mega slow. I'm trying to download that package. Maybe we come to that in just a bit.
Yeah, Cloudflare's been offline all day, so it's probably creating chaos everywhere. I presume the MVV framework stuff's using it for iNotify property change, because that's an immediate use case that sprung to mind. It's like the field keyword with partial properties that would just fit so well for that.
So if I think it's now downloaded, sealed class our type, and we would do a property, and okay, I'm not sure how those observable something. Observable property, is this how it goes?
Yeah.
I haven't used it in a while. Apply on property, let's give it an int. I guess this needs to be partial because source generators.
Yes.
And then the property also needs to be, is it partial type? I always forget. Partial here. And cannot be used. Containing type doesn't inherit from observable.
Yeah.
Something in here. Oops. Oh, that's a big error. Using on partial properties requires C# language version to be set to preview.
Oh, we need to set it to. We have set it to 14.
Well, what I can imagine is if Nougat kind of would load. Has it loaded now? It hasn't been updated. It's still an old version. So I guess they haven't updated their logic and maybe that check isn't too comprehensive about, well, I guess at the time they didn't know that it was released in 14. So if we set this to preview. Oh, yeah, cool.
Okay. Right.
So we should.
So it's no longer preview. Okay.
A source generator, MVVM community toolkit. There is our type.g.cs, and there it is. Just the field keyword. So there is no explicit backing field, but implicitly through. Yes. Okay. We just get the field and we just set the field and do something.
Yeah, and then the events around it. Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah, it's it just makes it much tidier, even though you don't see the code. So like, but it feels good.
Yeah. Well, technically, if there was a backing field,
yeah.
I could now, since it's partial, I could now access in the other part now this backing field, right? So it's kind of
Yeah, I think so. They tried to fix that before. Let's see if I get this wrong. You had a file modifier to say like this is private to the file.
Oh.
I don't know if my memory's really blur on that because I've never used it, but I think that was one fix to that problem where they were like, you know what, if you scope, if the generator class you create, you add a file modifier, nothing internal here is visible to the other half. But yeah.
Sweet. Now I'm wondering, you mentioned file-based apps. So can we do a little file-based app? So we'll open a command line here as well. So we should then say .NET Run our file-based app, which does, when empty, program doesn't contain a main. Okay, because we don't have any. So we could write now console dot.
Yeah, I think you could say return 0, and that would
oh,
but yeah, I think that would like fulfill like that's the null.
Yes, because we need something. Yeah,
yeah. It needs to know that it's not just an empty file. But yeah, you don't actually need the return 0. It's implicit now. But as soon as you have a line of code, then you're good. Yeah.
And could we now also include the MVVM2 community toolkit here? So that's pound, not exclamation point, but colon. I totally forgot the syntax.
Package. Yes, yeah, and then package space, and then the package name at the version. And you can also in the demos they do version like 8 dot star, and that will just take the latest version. I don't know why, but I just don't like that. So I always put the version in. But in the demos, they always like to show that you can use kind of this more floating package version. But
and then maybe we just grab this, put this into after the return. Yes.
So as well on file-based apps, this will be something that has first-class support in VS Code. But not Visual Studio. And I imagine if enough people make a noise about that, they might revisit it. But the idea is they won't add like first-class support in Visual Studio for this. Like it's more for lightweight editing. I think Rider have said they will add support, but it hasn't landed for this. Obviously, you're editing it now, but like you probably want completions and stuff for the directives. And I think that will come in the next version.
What I'm not sad about, it seems that file-based apps don't support generators because the partial property our type must have an implementation part.
Show me again. I'm curious now. Wait, I would have thought that would work. Partial output must have an implementation.
Because in our project-based app, we have the source generator kicking in. Yeah, is this maybe not trigger?
No, it should.
.NET Run not consider.
I don't want to say it with 100% certainty because I'm not certain. But I would have thought that would work. Like that is the intention. It should be able to quote do everything. Yeah, I was kind of not hoping. I was kind of half expecting it to say the same things before around the preview thing. Like it hasn't tried to generate it, right? Yeah, it hasn't engaged the source generator in the same way because we should have got that error.
I see. Okay, so this,
but we shouldn't have got that. We should have got that error though. But let's do it because that's what I was expecting. Is we would need to do property Langver.
So we say so with property. So this is how we can basically set any of our MS Build properties.
Yes, yeah, I didn't show that, but yes, that is.
Lang version, is this then colon equals?
I'm gonna have to search that up. I think it's just equals. I think it's why I say that. Let me find the actual syntax. Yeah, it is equals.
Oh yes, now it works. Cool. Okay. I'm absolutely well, this is a console app. I guess
Okay,
MVVM doesn't really do anything.
I think we found a bug because like we should have got the source generator error. It failed in the same way, just it didn't tell us, right? I think that's a bug. I think that's an SDK bug.
Or is this maybe because in the full-blown app if we don't set preview, we get an analyzer. So is it maybe analyzers?
But we should have got that analyzer error. Like that should come.
The analyzer error is not.
Yeah. We should have got that. I think.
No, wait. So now I'm confused. Where is the language preview now? Shouldn't it say language? Oh, maybe when we explicitly say for. I'm confused how to reproduce the problem we had earlier.
Yeah. Oh, okay. What happened? We definitely.
There we did. Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. That's a separate. That isn't the error, but that is a analyzer warning or message. I don't know. Okay.
But it doesn't seem to. Okay, so that's something from the MVVM toolkit, not from the file-based app thing. Why this is not working as expected? Yeah. Okay.
I'm with it now. Okay, so we got consistent.
Because if we build now the project-based app, we don't get the MVVM error as well. So I guess that's something from the MVVM toolkit, not from. But cool, full file-based app with source generators. Yes.
Do a publish. I want to see if that made it in.
Yes.
Because you need to have the AOT bits. So I want to see. This is what Damien talked about. Damien Edwards, but I don't know if it got in. See if you get.
I don't have it.
But it's trying to do it, right? So it wants you to have the native toolchain.
This would be native, yeah. So I guess we could confirm that if we say property publish AOT, I think, equals to false.
Yeah.
To kind of override the default, and now it should. Yeah, now it works. Okay, cool.
Nice.
So the default is publish AOT true. Yeah.
Yeah. So they tweak the defaults a bit, and I was watching some of they have like a Spire Friday stream where they do lots of stuff with the Spire, and they were doing stuff with single file-based apps, and it was fun to watch some of the bugs they were finding, and they had to tweak some of the settings in single file-based apps specifically for Spire because there's some really weird edge case bugs.
It seems that in general the project, all the opt-in features that are now all per default enabled in the templates, like nullable enable and implicit usings, are on as well, because we can just use console without having a using on system. And the question mark seems to be just fine as well.
There's some opinionated defaults.
Without any complaint. Okay. So they just enable.
You can do .NET which way around. I can't remember. I think it's .NET project convert and then the file, and then you'll get effectively the MS build like CSproj file that is equivalent to what it's kind of producing under the hood.
Let's put it into our
so you can
directory original with typo. So there is our output directory with our code without the ignored directives. but the ignored directives are then converted to those properties and the packages. Okay, this is fantastic. I love it. But there is no way the other way around, right?
No,
I
there's
mean,
not. No.
if there would be more than one C# file, then it would blow up. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you can also include other C# files. I think that's the thing. I think there's a. But I think that's it. I think that's the limit of it. At some point, you need to say, well, this should be a project, right? But it's really handy for those lightweight little things, and then you've got a really nice off ramp to then grow it up into a project.
Yeah.
So
I can imagine seeing this in the project I'm building for, as you mentioned, in CI, like for some tiny little script where you would have used PowerShell and always need to remember the syntax. Just have a little C# app.
Yeah, exactly. At work, we have some build scripts in PowerShell, and actually, we're thinking we could sort of thin down those build scripts to just be the PowerShell part would be acquiring the SDK if it's not already present, and just limiting it to that. But once you know you have the SDK, you can just do everything in C#, and then and then at that point, it's like, well, I could then just put in Cake, and then Cake has these really nice little. So you kind of end up being drawn into Cake, which I don't know how I feel about, but a lot of people love it. So if you go to the Cake build docs or site or whatever, you'll see that they've fully embraced it, and it looks really nice. So you can just have a single C# file at the top of it, add. So see if we can, if you is a link at the top where it says Cake 6 now available. I don't know if Scroll down. Does it have an example? You just add the SDK, and you can just start using Cake and like do buildy type stuff. So yeah.
Oh, is this SDK also what I could define? Like, is this like this SDK?
That is that, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and they're using that with the Aspire template as well. You can have a single app host.cs file, and Aspire has its own SDK that it uses. So yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah, because they put all the effort into like top level statements and stuff. And so this is the natural next evolution of it. And Damon Edwards always describes this as tooling down. It's important for things like CI/CD and kind of more low level tasks, but also simpler tasks for beginners to kind of have small tools that just work. You don't have to have this full IDE and full, like, we do need it, like in general, us .NET devs deal with big projects, but like sometimes you just want small little tools that you can, I like it a lot.
Now, I think we promised one thing about the operator thing, and now I want to add two types.
Okay.
For the fun of it. So, okay. So we could add a new extension block. So we say this should be type.
Okay.
And then public or static operate. No, return type. Maybe a type array. And type tuple. Type and operator plus, which now gets a type other. If this is is that correct, or does it take two types? No, seems to be right. And then we return a tuple of we need
so I think on this, so trying to get my words out, if it's an operator, I think it's static. So I don't think you don't need to give the receiver a name. So if all you have is statics, you can just omit the name in the extension bit, like you had. I think this is it. I think this what you have now is right.
So
without the receiver,
we need the receiver if you use it in instance, kind of extension things, but for static, there is none.
It's optional. So you can have it there, but you don't need it. So you can just.
Oh yes, but I can't use it. Yeah. So so this is kind of not used. Can then remove it. I see.
Because the operator is static.
So type of do we have class A? How did we call them? Class A. There is class B. Class. don't do this at home. This is nasty. And now we have our tuple. This should not be legal. Okay, and then we print out. Oh wait, we could give them fancy names like left and right, and then have left.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I've never done a static. That's awesome. There's lots of fun to be had with this for sure.
Yeah. Oh, there may be some esoteric syntax emerging. Yeah.
Wow.
You can add delegates by default in .NET as well. Like there's things you wouldn't expect to be able to just add, and it just works. So yeah, it could be adding types could just suddenly, you could build that, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh wow. Another thing I was wondering about, because I was, maybe you've noticed, I was building a source generator in the meantime while looking at the language because of this one. And I was like curious. I guess nobody will need that, right?
This is so some language features are implementation details. Some Roslyn features aren't language features. So this is one of those. Also, runtime async is one of those. It's a feature of the compiler. The compiler needs to do stuff, but there's no change to the C# language spec. And so that one you're looking at there is one of those. So it's about it's about changing the structure of where literals are stored when they have just UTF-8 bytes. So most strings don't contain like the full UTF-16, whatever you want to call it. In fact, if you just read this, it does a better job of explaining it. But most string literals fit within like the UTF-8 range, and so like why not just emit that in the compiler? Emit that in the assembly is the idea, so that they're not inflated to twice the size they need to be, and that just reduces the size of the assemblies. And it doesn't make, if you look at it in like isolation and you're like, oh, that doesn't save much, but strings in general are like, they bloat DLLs and all the string literals. Yeah.
I want to give that a try. So there is a problem, it seems, when it's too big.
Who's doing this? Who is? Okay.
I'm not sure.
Go do it though. I want to see it.
2 by 24. What's that? That's
that's a big number.
16 million something. Okay, so I prepared a source generator that emits basically a type. It emits a long string. Okay, and that many times. So okay, so this string has a length of something 555 characters.
That is.
So if we divide this by 555, we need, how many do we need of them?
Oh my God.
300,000. So we need 300,300. Okay, so this 300,300. So this should now kind of fail, right?
What are we targeting .NET 9?
Oh,
sorry,
targeting 10.
Right, so
but it says that it's an opt-in, is it?
Oh, good point. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you're right. Opt-in feature.
Fail.
Do you just want to keep making that number bigger so it breaks?
I suppose, yeah. 40,000. What is it? No.
Stick a 0 on the end. Just go mad. Yeah. What you're saying makes sense, though. What are you doing?
I was hoping.
Yeah, show me again, because this is.
I was trying this in the background. It kind of at some point did break. Not sure what I'm doing wrong or not wrong now. Or maybe the source generator wasn't. Maybe the source generator wasn't updated. Maybe the source generator wasn't.
Oh, I've lost sound. Is that me?
Updated. Excuse me? go to. Maybe I need to build everything. I was only building one project. Okay, that may be too many strings. Oh.
Never too many.
Cool. Combined length of
Nice.
user strings is that's the problem, right? Combined length of user strings. Okay, so experimental flag. So there is something we can opt into. Wait. The feature flag can be specified on the command line.
Can you hear me, by the way?
Yes,
Yeah.
now we can. Oh, there we go. Or in a property like
Because I
property
can't
group.
hear anything.
Oh, you
no.
can't hear us?
Either
Uh-oh.
you look like you can hear, Stefan.
Yes.
Let me
We
restart
can-
the tab.
Yeah. In the meantime, we can maybe set this preview feature and see now if the build completes. Can you hear us now?
Yeah, sorry, I don't know what happened.
Yes.
My
No
headphones
worries.
it's just literally this Chrome tab. But yeah, sorry.
No worries.
Didn't miss much.
Oh yeah, now builds. Okay.
Woo!
So this opt-in works.
Were you right with your number, or did you have to tweak something?
Yes, I just didn't build the source generator. Wasn't refreshed. I didn't build the source generator anew. Just the project. It didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the trivia list of things. That...
Oh yeah. Oh, Eva, this will go into one of our shenanigan talks.
Nice. Very good. Awesome.
Who found this? Who said I need? How big was it? 16 million.
16,700,000 something bytes.
Someone wants one more string, and they're like, I need the compiler team to fix this.
Cool. Okay, let's go back to one. So not
That's amazing. I'm really glad you prepared that.
Wait a second. I took a couple of notes. I also wanted to dive into the span thing because I love spans.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
So I've done so little research on this, so I'm going to be learning from you on this. Let's go.
So let's have a span. No, let's do span. Span of
Learning together. That's what this is all about.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Okay, and maybe let's go back in time and see if we can break it. If we have a method, let's do a sum that takes a span, and then I can imagine there is some .NET method, tensor primitives. No, I think that's in that.
Yeah, that's what was talked
11,
about in
isn't it?
the tensor primitives.
Yeah, let's do a naive for loop.
Yeah, it's under system numerics .tensors, and yeah, tensor primitives is the thing.
Tensor.
Are we still in .NET?
Oh, this doesn't exist yet. Yeah, because I downgraded to see. No, wait a second. I didn't downgrade the .NET is there. Just downgraded the language, so they should actually be there, right? Or am I something wrong? Numerics, tensor primitives.
Yeah, because those are shipped in .NET 9 apparently. Maybe it's in a.
System dot numerics dot tensors.
Yeah.
Oh, are they shipped in a package?
Yeah, that's what I'm now thinking. And then I go to APIs of .NET, but it's down, damn it. So I can't.
No.
And look at this. Ah, okay. Now, it would be fast if you would just have written the loop, but I don't want to. Tensors dot primitives sum. Yes, cool. And then we sum the span. What does this return? returns A.
The internet's just not on our side.
Not tonight. Oh, it was looking for the source.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's decompiling it.
This will still be useful, yeah.
Are we running into the? So it returns a float, but are we running into the issue already? It returns a read-only span.
It takes a read-only span, and
we're passing in the span,
well, so,
and it says.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Do you want to pass a read-only span for this? Yeah. And but I'm trying to think what I need to read the spec a bit more about what they've changed.
So this kind of needs to match here, so it can't go from a span to read-only span implicitly, because this is also generic, right? It's not a span of int, but a span of t. So, no, that's a span of float. Okay. So if we now switch to 14, will it now stuff just work?
Yay.
It appears to work now. Okay. So there is now more, so the language does more conversions.
Yeah, so I guess if you hover over... Yeah, I don't suppose I have that, but just go to some and just prove it's still read-only. Just hover over it. Yeah, cool. Yeah.
And it's the generic T.
This does introduce the ability for ambiguity to creep in, so you can get compilation errors just as a result of upgrading because of this. But in general, it's a good change because you generally want to use the span overloads for things.
Because now, I guess also from a library author perspective, I can now imagine it makes things way easier. Because previously, well, let's say this our library takes a read-only span, but what if the user has a span? Doesn't work. So I need to provide then also a span-based overload. Now, let's not consider the implementation. Okay, let's just return. Let's just return 0. Let's not think about the implementation, but just as the calling. So we need to provide both for either to work. But now with 14, why not just provide a single one? And I guess this, or not?
Yeah, it's also around array implicitly converting as well, and it's strings as well. So those 4 now sort of interplay more.
So if this was an array of int, I wouldn't need to provide. Okay, so I wouldn't need to provide a span, a read-only span, and an array overload. Just a read-only span overload and be done with.
And I think if you had the overloads, it would pick the better. They have like a betterness concept.
What is the better one?
So I think if you have something specific for like array of t, then it would disambiguate. But if you said like IEnumerable versus read-only span, it's now going to win not T. I think T array will win because it is this specific type. But if you change T array to be IEnumerable, it will pick the span ones, I think.
So if we say return to 3, and this shall be an IEnumerable of T.
So exactly. Yeah. So if it was array, then array would win because it is the type. But if it's
the exact match still wins.
Before, I think if you downgrade, it's going to pick the IEnumerable one. But now in C# 14, it's going to pick the read-only span.
It did indeed. And if we downgrade,
this is unrehearsed.
We're always unrehearsed.
Oh, yes, indeed. It's the 2, which is the IEnumerable.
I knew what I was talking about.
That's cool. Because, then we can do like the tensor primitive stuff and have super fast implementations and don't need to provide all the crazy overloads. That's amazing.
Yeah, and it just makes it easier to use the right things because I think sometimes a lot of engineers, developers don't really pay too much attention. They just want to get the compiler errors away, right? And you want it to kind of like pick the most optimal one. And now it will. So yeah.
There is one last thing. I took myself a note that I would like to give a try. The null conditional Elvis thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what did we have? We had like a customer.
Yes, a very contrived example.
Which
but
has
yes.
a method. Maybe the method does something. Then we have a customer instance equals to something, and we want to wait a second. We want to.
Yeah. So
wait a second. This is not the example I want to go to.
The new feature is specifically on just setters. So we haven't had support for this operator with the setter.
Let's have, so we can now say instance if this, well, let's call this text. If this text is, the instance, yeah. So let's make this nullable. And if the instance is null, then don't assign the result of m.method to it, which returns a
okay. So you see,
string.
So I think you're right in your assumption here. Oh, I don't know if it's your assumption. It won't evaluate the thing on the right, is what I'm expecting here.
Yeah.
But let's see.
Yeah, so this feature doesn't exist in C# 13. Now with 14, this is exactly what I'm trying to get at, indeed. Yeah, so now it's not null.
Yeah. So it will.
Therefore, it will assign, so we should see something.
Yeah.
There it is. Now let's make it null. Well, if we would remove the question mark, we get a nullable warning.
Yep.
And now this should not be executed, so we should get pretty much nothing.
Agree.
And there is nothingness.
It works.
Are there maybe from the audience some more questions about C# 14 before? I mean, C# 14 is now already a week old. Let's look, before we take a look into the future. If I'm looking at our notes, is there something that we have missed?
I am not looking at the notes, then. No, I think we're good.
So to the audience, last chance to get your questions in. Actually, one thing I also wanted to think about is the user-defined compound operator. No, does this make sense? Yes.
Yes.
Because we could have had a, let's see, we have our customer, and now let's make customer addables. Static customer returning operator plus, which takes a customer left, customer right, and just for an implementation, let's return left, so just that it works. We have C1 and C2. No, wait a second. We just need, oh, no, hold on. What I want to do is, maybe let's do an int to make the example simple. So C1 equals to C1 plus 1, which now should call into this operator. Oh, that's int, not right. So, and then we already, can't we already do the compound thing?
So
this kind of works already. Why do we need to use a compound?
It works, but you can make it do something different, which I guess I guess it would be for performance reasons. Like I guess this, because you would want the behavior to be consistent with just, if you, I can't imagine a situation where you would have a plus equal operator that behaved differently, that didn't have a corresponding plus operator. But let's say you would, you could take advantage of the fact that I don't know, you could do something more performant, possibly.
I see, because, well, if we want to add 1 to a customer, which now should increment this number, maybe let's, I see, maybe let's have customer.number. and customer.number, and afterwards it should be then evaluated to 2 because we now create a new customer and set the number to the existing number plus the one we give in. But we create a new customer instance of this class. So this allocates on the heap where this one, this even is void. So this compound operator doesn't return any. I see. And we just say number.
That's it. Yeah. I was just reading the justification. This is exactly it. It's like, it may not be optimal because you may want to just take the existing instance and do something with it.
Oh, that's this. Okay. Oh, because that's an instance one. And now it should bind. Let's do a console white line new. So it should now bind to the new one, not to the old one, which is void, which has some instance, and we don't. And we improved performance. We avoided a heap allocation. Cool.
Nice.
Yeah,
and
very
stuff
cool.
still works. Amazing. Okay, I know exactly what I'm gonna do tomorrow. Pump the language version and get some esoterics in. No.
Yeah, it's fun thing. Like I look at example features. I'm like, right, I'm gonna go apply them everywhere, and I'm like, it turns out I don't have. Like, definitely the extension methods is one that I can just go and apply everywhere for sure. But most of these things are like very paper cutty things. There's not like massive features in this one, but yeah, some of the upcoming features are quite cool, I think. Yeah.
We don't got any questions, so would you like to guide us briefly through the upcoming ones? Would you like to take control?
I think it's all right. I think I'll just talk broadly because we don't have all that much time. So yeah, I guess runtime async is an interesting one, which is that's one of those ones I said before where it's like it's not a language feature, but it requires changes in Roslyn in the compiler and throughout all the tooling. So if you see this one, they've actually already merged it. So this didn't make it into the .NET 10, but this I would be surprised if we didn't get a preview mode for this in .NET 11. So the idea with this is forever in C#, as long as we've had the async and await keyword, async methods have been a sort of mechanism that have been implemented in the compiler. So when you have an async function, you compile it. The compiler sort of creates a bunch of what we call lowered code, which is just another way of saying more C# code that's more complicated than the original code. And it creates this state machine that kind of manages it, which Stefan has managed to produce quicker than I can say it. Brilliant. And yeah, it's a state machine that does this move next and everything. And it's actually pretty cool. It's got us a long way. But this would actually be better if it was done at runtime by the JIT. The JIT can handle it, optimize it more aggressively. And there's a bunch of allocations that they know they can get rid of. They've run some sort of experiments around this, and I don't have the graphs on me, but in that issue there are some graphs around. There may be a few links deep, but like there's some graphs on the numbers. But basically, this stuff just gets faster. Nothing changes. All of the existing code you have, including things like synchronization context and all those concepts, async await, nothing changes, but the runtime now just deals with it faster. There's a bit of like interesting things they have to handle because like you still have people who build libraries that may not their libraries may not be recompiled with the new stuff, so it may not be aware of the new runtime stuff. There's still some sort of bits like the compiler here still has to emit stuff in lieu of the old state machine. And I say in lieu of, I actually mean as well as the old state machine. So the compiler still emits both the old implementation for people who aren't using this new mechanism and the hooks for the new stuff. And so through an async call stack, you might have a mix of the old state machine stuff and the new stuff. And so it adds to the complexity. You also have the complexity that .NET runs in lots of different ways. So even though that change has been merged, they haven't implemented it in native AOT yet. That's happening right now. And there's also all the tooling and all the diagnostics and like yada yada. There's lots of things they have to line up to make it all work. So that's an exciting one.
So if we have the new version and the state machine is kind of gone, Does this mean we get sensible call stacks when using async await?
I don't know. I don't know. I think so.
Sounds too good.
Yeah. I think I actually just need to research it. I haven't got hands on with it, but
oh yeah, that's
we,
ultra fresh.
yeah, we don't get green thread, so it's not like a completely new model. So I actually think we'll still get city call stacks, but we'll have to have a look. But yeah, I don't think anything too fundamental changes other than where the mechanics of it live. Yeah, I think there's not enough time to talk about all of these ones, but I've been talking for a while about unions, and unions are very exciting, and is something that exists in other languages. And the initial proposal had lots of different types of unions they wanted to support. So one of the things they wanted to do was kind of support the idea of what you have in TypeScript, where you can just have a kind of inline type that's like, this is a string or an int, and it's like one of these two things. And this union of types doesn't have a name. It's just like an inline type sort of thing. And they actually went off to have a look at how they'll build that. And it turns out that that falls apart when you have generics, and because it uses type erasure, and it all falls apart. So they've abandoned that idea, and they've kind of narrowed in on what I would this sort of type of union types, which is what we call tagged unions. So this is effectively a named type that can have one of a few different shapes, and there's a discriminator under the hood that determines which of those things it is. And you can pattern match against it for exhaustive pattern matching. And in this file here, you can see there's like a short declarative syntax for like defining the union. They've gone around a few iterations on what that looks like, so this could still change. This might not be the final thing, but unions are finally shaping up. I think I keep being optimistic, and I keep saying they're going to be the next version. I do think they actually can land in the next version, and actually, because they're on the language feature page, they're being built, like this is being developed in Roslyn now, right? So that indicates it's got a really good chance of landing. So yeah, I'm hoping it makes it into C#15. But yeah, and awesome. This builds on another one of those things, which is closed class hierarchies. So the unions is a language feature to kind of very at a high level define this stuff, but maybe you're already using like I'm trying to remember what some of the libraries are called, but there's some libraries out there. One of T, I want to say. There's another one that people use, but maybe you already have your own like result type. One of the things you can do, you'll be able to do with this feature, is to say that these types are a closed set of types, and that gives you that discriminating union behavior because you can pattern match over it. You can have a hierarchy of types that are closed, and that gives you most of the functionality that you want from discriminating unions. So discriminating unions or union types kind of are a high level thing that lower down to this. So this is like the enabling proposal. Yeah. And then other features are like we're running really low on time now, but the other features are collection expression arguments and dictionary expressions. They kind of go hand in hand. Dictionary expressions, they kind of have a syntax for, which is like how you define key value pairs. But the things with dictionaries is you often need to provide extra arguments to the constructions of the factory methods of those things. You need to be able to say, here's the comparer to use. And you have the same problem.
Capacity, yeah.
Yeah, so in collection expressions, you have the same problem, which is, what if I want to construct a thing and provide an argument like capacity, or in a hash set, a equality comparer? You don't have a way of doing that at the moment. So they're talking. The thing with this stuff is like there isn't one great syntax. Like all the syntax they propose, even this syntax here, is a bit like, no one can really agree on what a nice syntax for this looks like. But everyone agrees that there should be some syntax for this, and this is needed for dictionary expressions, really. So this is something that we kind of need in order to have dictionary expressions be usable. So yeah, you'll see here that there's the concept of like key values colon, comma, etc. They figured out a lot of the details in terms of like how duplicate keys get handled, but they need to figure out how to do arguments.
So we can pass the compare. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, hoping we're going to see it next version.
Yeah.
But one I'm really excited for.
To round things off, what I'm excited about is, of course, the most useless feature. No, well, just to finish off, because what is actually what Eva and I did in a talk. In this app, there is no. I do not have allow unsafe blocks. There is no word. No mention. If I search for unsafe, there is no mention of unsafe.
Unsafe, however, dangerous. There's the word dangerous in some APIs as well.
Some marshalling thing, but nothing unsafe. Yeah. And well, if we kind of ignore that, all of that happens above, nothing unsafe or nothing officially unsafe. I just print the string interned, which is an intern string. But what we actually get is a bunch of underscores. Because we can grab in a safe fashion. So basically mutate the immutable.
So the unsafe keyword isn't aligned with what the .NET team now considers like memory safe, and so that initiative is about aligning those things. So you won't be able to get in uninitialized memory, and lots of the things like the memory, like perfect example, memory marshal, lots of things that are really unsafe. But there's no way of them communicating it through the API that this is an unsafe thing, other than having like a name that's a bit they've done like unsafe dot as, and also like on list you can do get dangerous. Is it get dangerous backing? Or I don't know. I can't remember the name of it. But
is that collection marshal dot?
There's one with the word dangerous in that I love. I really want to use because I want to code dangerously.
Source.net. Do we quickly find it if we do dangerous?
Yeah. I'm not making it up, I promise.
There is, well, okay. I guess it's some, there is nothing starting with dangerous. Maybe it's at the end, then it doesn't find it here, but yeah.
Dangerously get something. Or whatever. But there are like some, unsafe things. So that initiative is around fixing that so that, and there's some things that will now not require the unsafe keyword, but then there'll be things now that are unsafe that were before considered safe, like what you've just shown. So
no unsafe code yet. Segmentation fault.
That should not happen because that's the whole point of the memory safe language. So that should be it should be honest.
Awesome.
Cool.
So we've got a lot to look forward to, basically.
Oh yeah. But first, C#ify everything. C#14ify everything.
Everything. Yeah.
All things.
Wonderful. Do we have any final words?
Yes, of course. I mean, it is a live stream, so if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to any of your preferred social medias just to keep up to date with all of our upcoming content, and so you don't miss any episodes because we don't always stream on the same day. And yes, thank you again, Stuart. It's always such a pleasure to have you, and these are always like some of my favorite streams of the year. So thank you so much for taking the time and having this awesome presentation and answering all of our questions and going on all of our adventures with us.
I love it. It's my favorite stream. For sure.
Aww.
Of course.
Cool. So yes, we'll be back on December 11th on the C# Advent. Where we will be, well, I can imagine there's already 3 libraries doing polyfilling. Why not have a 4th? Basically showing how one could utilize extension members to polyfill the argument null exception, because that's the most amazing part. I love it so much. And so we either see again on the December the 17th, or maybe in a year, it's not just the 2 of us, but maybe even the 3 of us to be back. And now I didn't have the thing ready, and now all the tension is gone. Oh yeah, that's embarrassing.